Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar on capitalizing on your Peace Corps intercultural competence, which is such a great topic. And we're really excited today to have actually a guest presenter. We have Pamela Ex with us here, and she is a global career coach with significant experience working in this exact area, as well as many other areas of career coaching. She's worked significantly with, extensively with the State Department and helping FSOs, so your foreign service officers, diplomats and such, as they've prepared to come back and prepared to go to service. So she just has a wealth of experience to share with us. And without any further ado, I really want to just bounce it over to you and let you take the ball and run with it, Pam. I'm so excited to be in the audience here. And we just thank you for your support of the RPCV population and the Peace Corps family. So thanks so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Very, very happy to be here. Welcome, everyone. And it seems like we've got a great diversity of experience in the chat, both in terms of locations and years, and where people are right now geographically, and in terms of your work now. I'm going to share my screen and make sure that I have the right version of this. So the title of the session today is Capitalizing on Your Peace Corps Intercultural Competence. And the whole idea of this is that you have experience that's valuable and can be leveraged for developing your career. So the subtitle is How to Compete More Successfully for Jobs, Details, and Rotations by Leveraging this Intercultural Competence. So the goal for the session today is for you to really listen and learn. So I'm going to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about me. So if you'll notice, I am wearing a blue jacket. And I'm going to introduce myself by saying the following. Hi, I'm Pam Ex. I'm a coach and trainer helping people through professional and personal transitions. I have experience in a wide variety of organizations with clients in different professions and industries. I've been a speaker at conferences and an author of business articles. I'd love to work with you to help you reach your goals. So I'd love to see in the chat your reaction to this introduction. Did you like it? Was it too long? Was it too short? Was it too detailed? Was it not detailed enough? If I were introducing myself as I am here in this session, what's your reaction to this introduction? Just some quick comments in chat. Succinct, wasn't too long. Maybe included an example. Okay. Direct and neutral, informal, personal. Great. Those are some good comments. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch my jacket. I'm going to put on the pink version of this jacket. And I don't know if we have any RPCVs from Indonesia, but my husband bought me this jacket from Indonesia when he went there on a trip. Now I'm going to introduce myself in a different way with the pink jacket. Hi, I'm Pam Ex. I'm a global coach and trainer helping clients to succeed in the international workplace. I have over 25 years of experience with government, multinational corporations, military, NGOs, and universities. I've worked with over 5,000 clients from 50 countries, ranging from students to executives in different professions and industries. And I do it in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. I've spoken at international conferences and authored international business articles. My work and my clients stretch across the globe, and I'd love to help you reach your international career goals. What do you think about this introduction in comparison to the first one? Same questions. Interesting, too long, too short? Much better, love the numbers, more specific, more detailed, shows my expertise, more intriguing details. Exactly. So that's the purpose of showing you a concrete example of a generic but adequate introduction versus one that really incorporates some elements of my expertise in international careers and working with people in a variety of locations. Now, the question that I have to you, and I'll open it to the group if somebody would like to share something verbally. Tell me about the intercultural implications of this second introduction. Might it be appropriate in some cultures, but not others? Any comments from the group? You can unmute and share with the group. This is a friendly group. If you would rather not say something verbally, if you want to put something in chat. I'll be more specific. For those of you that were Peace Corps volunteers or have spent time working and living in other cultures, how would this second presentation be perceived by audiences in that community? There's someone that would like to share?
Hi, this is Carrie.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead,
Carrie.
Yeah, no, I think that this is a great introduction for this type of environment. And but I am thinking like at a community level, I don't know if it would come across the same way. It seems a bit overwhelming. And, you know, I think that it depends on your audience, like the kind of information that you would want to share. And if it's community folks, they probably wouldn't understand a lot of these things that you're talking about, or it wouldn't be relevant to them, perhaps. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So that's lesson number one, is you always tailor your message to your audience. Jocelyn, did you have a comment?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you so much for this. It almost reminds me of, in terms of communication styles, whether something is intrinsic or something is explicitly said. In certain cultures, or from experience that I've had, South Korea was one, there was a different understanding in terms of how the relationship was formed and how business was conducted. So was it something that would be slowly built over time? Is that too much information? Or is it something that would be welcomed? It's just more, I think it's worth a conversation of being sensitive to some of those intrinsic differences.
That's right. Absolutely. Now, if you have a partner that you're working with that's going to introduce you to this group, you might share how you want to introduce yourself and ask them if it's appropriate or not. One of the points that I like to make with this introduction is that in the US, I think that this, for the most part, is fairly acceptable, right? We do a little bit of tooting our own horns when we introduce ourselves. And this is a way that we establish credibility and authority and share our experiences. But many cultures would perceive this as bragging and arrogant and really overstating my qualifications, or assuming that they will think that these qualifications are valuable rather than allowing them to make their own assessments. Yes, Jody's comment about humbleness and humility, right? In many of the East Asian cultures, for example, this might be very inappropriate because it's boastful and I'm not humble and I'm not waiting to earn people's trust rather than assuming that I will get it. In summary, the message needs to be tailored to the audience, and you think about what you say and how you say it in a way that will maximize your reception in a positive way. So that brings us to the goals of what we're trying to do today, looking at recognizing that your intercultural competence gained from your Peace Corps and other international experience is a valuable and distinct skill set that you need to learn to use. We're going to write some accomplishment statements or tell some stories that incorporate your intercultural competence as a way to practice. And then how do you take this intercultural competence for greater competitive advantage as you're looking for new jobs or promotions or moving fields? So what I like to do first is talk about what is intercultural competence. And this is a working definition that I use. It's the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that enable professionals in a wide variety of realms to work effectively, meaning to get the job done. You've got deadlines, you've got goals, you've got parameters need to be taken care of. To work appropriately, meaning within the cultural norms of the physical location or of the organization that you're working in, and genuinely in a way that's aligned with your values, so that you are not working in a way or working with people where you feel compromised. And doing this in a wide variety of environments. So that's the notion of intercultural competence, working effectively, appropriately, and genuinely. There's a lot of conversation now about what's the difference between diversity and intercultural. And there's a lot of academic debate about this, but I'll try to keep it simple in the way that I have seen it used. Diversity is mostly used when talking about differences within one culture or one geographic area. For example, the United States is a very diverse nation in terms of race, religion, socioeconomic levels, and so on. Intercultural is often used when it's across many countries or even cultures within one country. So let's say we're talking about the US, Brazil, and Japan, and what are some of the commonalities and differences when we talk about those three cultures. Diversity and intercultural can also be further defined by regional and tribal differences, gender identity, sexual orientation, religion, languages, generational differences is also huge, and socioeconomic backgrounds. So your ability to navigate all of these differences and work successfully with different groups is another skill set that you can articulate. I like to use the example of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, and of course, I'm dating myself by doing this. What was the expression that was used about Ginger Rogers in comparison to what she did, and in comparison to what she did to what Fred Astaire did? Does anybody remember what they said about Ginger Rogers? You can put it in the chat or just share it verbally.
I think she did everything he did, but backwards in high heels.
Perfect. That's exactly right. So in actuality, Ginger was the more talented of the two partners because she had to work a little harder. She had to do it backwards and in heels. So I'm taking that same mindset as we talk about your intercultural competence. And I'm going to use the example of three common job functions: a Peace Corps volunteer, a foreign service officer, and a program analyst. These are common job functions but they are uncommon skills, and you are now all designated as superheroes. So let's look at how that plays out. Return Peace Corps volunteers often in their experience overseas taught classes and collaborated with local leaders. So how do you leverage that when you are talking about your skills that you're bringing to a new job? Well, now you are a super intercultural volunteer and you articulate. I taught basic English language computer literacy to 25 middle school students, enabling them to access online learning. So it tells what you did. You enumerated it, which is always helpful, 25 middle school kids, and you talked about end results or impact. Now they could learn online. Something else that you might have done in collaborating with local leaders is you persuaded the local recreation center leader to allocate 6 hours a week for girls only activities, because previously it was only allowed for boys to attend there. So that's an example of how you take what you did as a matter of routine and talk about it or articulate it in a way that highlights your intercultural skills. Let's look at another example. Foreign service officer often acts as a subject matter expert and interfaces with foreign dignitaries. But now that you're a super intercultural FSO, you incorporated broad experience with refugee issues in written briefs for 12 senior US representatives at a UN meeting, leading to revisions of sanctions. So again, it talks about your subject matter expertise in refugee issues. What did you do? You wrote, so that indicates writing skills. You again enumerated it for 12 senior reps, and then you talk about impact, revision of sanctions. You planned and executed a meeting in Tokyo using appropriate cultural protocols with high-level US and Japanese diplomats, resulting in signed agreements. In the world of intercultural training, the Japanese culture is often used as one that is very ritualized, and there are very strict protocols for interacting between, excuse me, interactions between people of very different hierarchies in an organization. And it's very important to get those interactions right. Another example, you have a program analyst or a program manager. This is a very common job title that encompasses a lot of roles. And you often collect data and write reports. So now you are a super intercultural program analyst. And here are two examples. For technical and non-technical audiences, wrote 2 reports on Bosnian wheat crop yield statistics, adapting language appropriate to each. So here we're talking about 2 audiences, a technical audience and a non-technical audience, and they need to be spoken to in different ways. Even if you're getting the same message across, the method of sharing that message will be different. Increased distribution of Moroccan political assessments from quarterly to monthly by accessing 7 local news sources in English, French, and Arabic, resulting in more timely information on emergent trends. So here's an example of where you increased the output from quarterly to monthly. You're accessing 7 news sources, not just 1 or 2. You're doing it in 3 languages. And the result is you have better information upon which decisions are made and hopefully made better. So these are some really simple, I hope, but illustrative examples of how you can start incorporating your intercultural experience. Let's look at a couple of more pieces of the puzzle. As a global career coach, I am always encouraging my clients to include their foreign language skills. And I am always encouraging them to accurately reflect their foreign language abilities. So a lot of people put Spanish or French or Russian or Turkish or whatever the language is that you spoke on their resume with no indication of the level of competency. Now, as a resume reader, if I see you put French, I might assume that you're fairly fluent and that you can participate in a meeting, you can write emails, perhaps you could write reports, and maybe you would need some editing. But if your French is really limited to où est le métro and combien coûte le croissant, you're really not going to be able to do your job effectively in that language. So for those of you that have had your language skills assessed by the State Department or the Department of Defense or Peace Corps, you can put whatever that assessment is. But you also need to remember the time. So I work with a lot of Foreign Service officers at the Department of State and at USAID. And at the time of their assignment, they were a 3-3 in Lithuanian because that's where they served, and they were able to approach a fairly good level of conversation, reading, and writing. But that was 12 years ago. And their Lithuanian has really deteriorated, and they remember the basics like where's the metro and how much does this croissant cost. So that 3-3 or that, you know, professionally proficient evaluation of Lithuanian is no longer valid. So to solve that problem, you either can put professionally proficient and the date 12 years ago, or you can say conversational, which is a more accurate reflection of your current language ability. A very good source to help you determine how to describe your language skills as they are today is if you look on LinkedIn in the language section, they have a drop-down menu where you can select elementary proficiency, limited working proficiency, professional working proficiency, full professional proficiency, or native or bilingual proficiency. And so that you can use these words as guidelines to help you determine how you want to describe your language abilities. You can also use other things like conversational or professional level if these expressions are too long. So what I would like to do now is have you go in pairs, and Jody is going to help me with this. We're going to randomly put you in pairs, and I would like for you in your pair to think about your proudest intercultural accomplishment or your proudest intercultural moment. And as you remember the experience, think about how you did it effectively, appropriately, and genuinely. Quantify it what you can. Were there any concrete end results? And include your language skills if you used language skills. And it could be English language skills, but you were needing to speak in a more modified format, or you needed to learn how to speak in a very formal way to somebody that was expecting that kind of language. And I think that what we'll do is, Jody, we can do it for 10 minutes. And for the first 5 minutes, I would like the first person in the pair to share their experience. And then for the second 5 minutes, the second person will share their experience in pairs. When we come back to the group, I will ask for volunteers. If anyone would like to share their intercultural accomplishment statement with the group. And if we get no volunteers, I'm going to ask you, did your partner tell a really great story? And would you like to nominate your partner to share their story with the group? In summary, the end result will be about let's say 2, 3, or 4 sentences only to describe this accomplishment. So you can talk about it in your pairs, and then I want you to come to a summary statement that you would be able to share, let's say in an interview?
Okay, and Pam, I have it ready to go. I'm going to create them, and then I have it all created. I'm just going to push the button and it should either allow them to get their invite or send them right away. So is that all
Okay.
set?
All right. Any questions before we move to the pairs? Okay, and I think that we can, so 10 minutes total.
Yep.
5 minutes per person.
We'll give you we'll give you a message, a broadcast message to keep you posted on that. But one question of clarification, Pam, are you wanting them within that 5 minutes? You're wanting them to share their part and then also get feedback from the person, you said, right? Or not?
I mean, if you have time, usually the way that I have seen this work is it takes you a minute to think about, what was that one story that I want to tell?
Mm-hmm.
And then really, really consolidate it into maybe 3 or 4 sentences that highlight the skills that you used and the results that you generated. So if this were an interview and I said to you, what is your proudest intercultural moment? You would be able in a very brief way to tell me that story. Now in real life, I'd love to hear all the details and have everybody share, but the purpose of this webinar is to really give you an opportunity to drill it down to the essence, because you may not have the time to tell that whole long, lovely story. I want to hear, what is it that you did in that experience that exemplifies these intercultural skills? Any other questions? Okay, let's go. And
Okay,
maybe I'll
great.
pop into some of these rooms to see.
Great. Okay. I'm going to pause the recording now, but I just want to remember to restart it when we come back, okay? The recording will start again.
All right, so Dan, you said that was a fun experience. Does that mean you'd be willing to share your intercultural accomplishment story with the group? And if you do, if you'd feel comfortable putting your camera on, otherwise you can leave it off.
I'm kind of in my kitchen multitasking, so I'm going to leave my camera off, but thank you for the opportunity. I should have kept my mouth shut. No.
Anne is my partner in crime in the global reentry program, by the way.
I really appreciated the opportunity to think about this, and I was really challenged by it. I've worked overseas in developing contexts for over 10 years, and pinpointing something across all those countries that would be a good interview response was definitely challenging. But I kind of landed on being a Peace Corps volunteer in Timor-Leste in the first group there, and as I was telling Jocelyn, creating a culturally appropriate children's health and hygiene, public health education resource that for the first time in my community and in that part of the country used locally resourced photos and drawings that resonated with the local community and kids there. For the first time, they could see themselves in the pictures and language that was used in this resource.
Great. And what was the outcome? What was the impact of that?
I am sad to say that I left before it was published, but I know that the resource was put in public health offices throughout the country, and I've heard good things, but I never got to see it, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's sad. That happens sometimes, right? You do all this hard work and you're not able to see the end result, but I'm sure that it made a difference. And for young children to see themselves represented in those important roles is really key to self-esteem. Thank you for sharing that, Dan. Kevin, you agreed. What is your story. And I'd love to hear if you could present it in a way that, again, 3-4 sentences in a comprehensive way.
Yeah, of course. Good morning. And I apologize. I also am not going to be on my camera. I am on Alaska time and I'm just getting my morning started. So I'm still getting everything together, but thank you so much for your time today and your expertise. It's very, very much appreciated. And I hope you know that. So I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Mexico from 2018 to 2020. And I was a natural resource conservation volunteer. And I guess first, I just want to say why I'm here today. And I'm here to learn a little bit more about how I can not just leverage, but also respect and honor my intercultural experience and make sure that I'm giving it in a respectful and honest way as I'm explaining it, because I don't want to be rude with it and throw it around like it's like something that you can just say, yeah, I did this. You know, I want to make sure I'm respectful with it. So that's also just, I think that's something important. And also something too in Mexico, we really focused on in the projects that such the previous gentleman that spoke, that in Peace Corps Mexico, we talked about how you plant a seed to never see the tree like grow. And so I think in a lot of ways, we do a lot of we work on projects that we actually never get to see to fruition because we're just there for a short amount of time, you know, trying to make a larger impact. But one of the ones I did have the opportunity to do, and I wrote a little message out here, and thanks to Andrew for talking with me through that. Developed, facilitated, and evaluated a workshop in Spanish on the meaning of social service from the U.S. perspective with over 300 college students from the Tec de Monterrey in Querétaro, Mexico, through the support and invitation of the university's social service department, which as a result made systematic changes to their university volunteer program.
Great. Excellent. Yeah, volunteerism is a concept that is not the same all over the world, right? And you know, that's a whole nother long conversation, but to give people the tools to understand what volunteerism is and what it can do and the impact that it have is great. So that was a good impact story. Thank you, Kevin. Do we have one more person that would love to share their story?
My partner, Nick, gave me permission to offer his story, which is fascinating. And I think highlights how we can identify an accomplishment incidental to the actual job we are doing overseas.
Okay, thanks, Kim. Nick, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. Thank you, Pam. My story is more about, I guess, just like a happenstance and a very like low level, like on the ground type of thing. But I was teaching English in Italy and there was a disaster on the train I was riding on. It lands our train and tipped the train. Thankfully, no one was hurt. There was more like a disruption than actually chaos, but it ended up being chaos because everyone was rerouted to this small town. There's no indication of when there's going to be trains or any type of accommodation or anything. And this is mostly tourists and foreigners who are traveling. And because I speak Italian, I was asked by a police officer to help translate for a couple. And that eventually evolved into me sitting with the police for 8 hours and translating for every single person that came through the station, which because of this disruption of the train and the actual landslide, was a significant amount of people. I mean, and then there's something where I had to like put my practical application of language, like in real time, kind of managing like crisis management, and I had to like manage my own expectations because I'm on my way to my job, and you know this gigantic like emergency has happened right in front of our faces, and then just like managing like the weight of like other people's expectations in a foreign country, and also dealing with authorities, which is something I haven't made a habit of.
Great. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, you're the accidental hero, right? Happened to be the right person at the right time with certain skills. And I'm sure that involved a lot of diplomacy and empathy and patience and stamina.
Yeah.
Working through your own trauma and needing to help other people. Well, thank you for sharing that. Amazing stories. And I'm sure every one of you has a whole basket, a whole bundle of stories that you could tell. And these are wonderful examples of how you can leverage your intercultural experience and education and language skills to really add value. So what I would like to do now is we have about 5-6 minutes left. What questions do you have? How can I help you capitalize on your intercultural competence as you think about incorporating it into all aspects of career development, which are the resume, the cover letter, your elevator speech, your LinkedIn profile? Make sure that these aspects of your intercultural competence and language skills are on LinkedIn. Bring it up in networking, job interviews. If you're targeting certain organizations or countries or skills, you can also use LinkedIn and your networking to identify that. And then, of course, in the actual job interview, telling your story. So any questions that people have that I can answer? Can either put them in chat or unmute. Yeah, Erica, see your hand up? Maybe
I know
that was.
when Eric and I were paired, she was having audio problems, so she might still be having audio problems. I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. Any other questions that people have? Okay, Andrew?
Hi. Hang on, let me turn on the camera here. So when I was thinking about this, when I was working with Kevin on this, a lot of my proudest intercultural achievements are not really impact statements. They were more about being able to function, like meeting the people that ran the village and making contacts close enough to be able to live there, and being safe there, and being part of being able to successfully embedding myself in the social network. I didn't have tidy, I did this thing and with this many things and this was the outcome, but it was more about that everything worked. And some of my prouder moments were like about just the interpersonal reactions where people trusted me enough to discuss really culturally sensitive topics and things like that. So is there a way I can work that?
Yeah, I mean, those are equally valid. I use the example of, results and outcome and quantification, because that often are lists on criteria that interviewers are looking for. But many jobs, let me put this the other way, most jobs where you're dealing with people from different cultures, that ability to establish rapport and build trust and find a way to communicate and find a way to work through language barriers or hierarchy barriers are really, really critical. So not every story has to have that, that number or that tidy ending. So flash that story and be proud of it, and speak of it with passion and awe that you were able to do that. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you so much, Pam. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Jonathan said, I would like to hear more about Nick's question, how to speak to your intercultural skills in appropriate and respectful. Cultural norms regard bragging. Any suggestions? I think that that's a really good question. When I help people prepare for interviews and think about selecting the stories and determining how to tell those stories, I always project the image of a continuum, right? So there's total modesty, humility, oh, it really wasn't me, I really didn't do very much, to the absolute opposite end, which is bragging and arrogance, and it couldn't have been done without me, and I'm the only one in the world that could have managed this. You have to find the place on the continuum that's appropriate for you and your personality, and that's appropriate to the culture. So if you think of the continuum from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 or whatever numbers you want to use, find where you fit on that continuum and measure that against the cultural norms. And if you're not sure, then find your cultural advisor, find your liaison, find a friend, find someone who had experience in that same situation and ask them what would be appropriate. That's a good way to leverage your network. Erica, can you hear us, or are you not able to?
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear? Oh, good. It's a struggle. I plan to attend this in between my doctor appointment, but then it got postponed. And so then my mom said, can you pick up water at Sam's Club? So anyway, I'm here trying to,
All right.
but
Good.
yeah. So what I had learned in Peace Corps is little by little. I was over in Malawi, but we returned back because of COVID. But my question that I wanted to ask is maybe more related to the approach, and it could be maybe a topic all in itself. But I have tried to do some advocacy for funding back for those returning to Peace Corps. And I kind of got discouraged because I kind of received a response letter that was very not wanting to put any funding towards Peace Corps for multiple reasons. So I was wondering what other people have when they introduce themselves, how they can go about it in a nonpartisan way. It was just a disheartening letter about, we don't support that type of work overseas. We would rather help our own country. And it was, kind of difficult to move a conversation along, in a nonpartisan fashion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Erica, I understand the importance of the question. I must confess it's a little bit out of the scope of what we've been talking about here. And maybe I could refer you to Jody, who might be able to help you with that response, or refer you to someone that could answer that for you.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, because when I try to explain the intercultural part of, I served in Peace Corps, there's always this element of a conversation that I thought, that's just been different. So that would be wonderful if I could connect in that way, because it's part of the story of advocating for Peace Corps to continue to serve. And so that was part of my question. So that would be great. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'd say circle back with Jody. Jody, you're muted.
So sorry. Erica, yeah, you can certainly drop me a message. I'll put my email in the chat box for you. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so as we wrap up, thank you for those of you that are sticking with us for just a few extra minutes. What I'm seeing in the chat is people trying to find that balance between.
Ooh, Pam, your
Yes.
your audio, even though it doesn't show you being muted, I'm not able to hear you. I'm not sure if others are, but maybe try again.
Okay.
I can hear her okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Is anyone else having trouble? Put it in the chat box if you can hear. Okay, great.
Yes.
Go right ahead then.
Okay,
It might be just
all
on
right.
my end. Go ahead.
So finding this balance between what I did and what we did. And I believe that part of the mission of Peace Corps volunteers is really to integrate themselves into the community and find a way to be collaborative and productive, at the same time recognizing that you're bringing skills and a mindset and knowledge that community might not have. So once again, think of this continuum between totally me and totally we, and where is a comfortable place for you to land, recognizing that certain parts of the story might be more we and certain parts of the story might be more I. So there's no fixed, answer. I see that we really are at the end of our time. So what I would like to do is just really restate the goals, that you recognize that this intercultural competence is a distinct skill from whatever it is that you do, financial analysis or education. And you practiced talking about and really trying to identify the intercultural skills that you used to be successful in building relationships, building a school, building a dam, whatever it was that your project involved, and then to leverage it going forward. I work with many professionals who were Peace Corps volunteers, 2 years ago and 25 years ago. And those lessons still stay with you and have really formed who you are as a person. I was not a returned Peace Corps volunteer, but I was a high school exchange student with AFS to Brazil, and that has colored my whole life. So I will use that as an equivalent experience to say, I bring these skills forward. Thank you so much for your participation. I hope that you gained some concrete skills and knowledge and techniques that will be helpful for you going forward. Here is my personal email, PamelaX77@gmail.com. If anyone would like to reach out and have a further conversation. And good luck to all of you. The skills and knowledge and sensitivities and mindset that you have are so needed in this time. And the world is a better place because of you, and will continue to be a better place because of what you bring to the communities that you're in and to the organizations that you serve. So thank you to Jody and Kim for bringing me along, and my sincere wish is that this was valuable for you. Thank you.
And thank you, Pam, again, just from the bottom of our hearts. This has been a really great discussion, and I'm so glad you were able to join us. We really appreciate it. And I think there's a lot of food for thought, and I look forward to following up with the RPCVs too on taking this and moving forward as well in their own pursuits and in their own applications and endeavors. So thank you so much for coming and being here with us today. And thanks to everyone for joining in to listen to it.
Thanks so much. And thank you for sharing your stories. Much appreciated. Have a good day. Stay healthy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.